10 end zone celebration of all time. The spike.
Spike has to be higher, okay? This is a national institution.
You gotta get more creative than just a spike.
I don't understand how you can put the spike at only number 10. For the longest time, the spike was the end zone celebration.
Traditional, like a white shirt on a man, it never goes out of style.
It's the forerunner. It's the originator. You could kick it up a little bit. It was kind of like you got to walk before you can run.
Then number 45, Homer Jones, entered the scene.
Our number 10 end zone celebration took its first steps in 1965 when the Giants' Homer Jones spiked the ball.
And I love this because Homer Jones did this because he couldn't afford to throw the footballs away. He wanted to throw them into the stands and said, they're kind of expensive, so I don't want to do that. I'm just going to spike it. That's classic.
And at the time, when you spiked the ball, people thought that was crazy. It's almost like your parents hated Elvis because he was new.
I was disgusted. I was insulted. I was offended. I knew that the world was never going to be the same, and the NFL was headed in a bad direction.
We could do top 10 spikes. I mean, there are a variety of different spikes. There's obviously just the standard spike, the angry spike, the windmill spike, which is usually a variation of the angry spike. One of my favorite is the climactic spike, which would involve a player doing a dance and ending the dance with a spike. Michael Irvin was excellent at climactic spikes.
Now, the ones that are really cool are the ones that can spike it over the goalpost. That's true athleticism. I love that.
I like it when the big fat lineman picks up the fumble and runs in and doesn't have a dance, doesn't have any kind of celebration, just a simple there.
Another Super Bowl record, the first refrigerator to score.
The spike made number 10 on our list when the game's biggest stars made it their number 1 celebration.
Walter Payton was always my favorite growing up, and Walter Payton used to do just gigantic windmill spikes in the end zone. That's old school, with just a fat spike, just crank it.
Earl Cooper, for the 49ers' first Super Bowl, scores a touchdown in that perfect left-handed spike jumping into the air. That's what it's all about.
Tom Brady this year, 2010, in Pittsburgh, pissed off at the crowd. Boom! Point made.
The number 9 end zone celebration of all time. The Ickey Shuffle.
Personally, I'm in love with the Ickey Shuffle. I would marry the Ickey Shuffle.
Nah, I thought the Ickey Shuffle was corny.
Your grandma could pretty much do that, you know, with a walker.
Awful. It was famous for no other reason than it was so bad.
And Ickey does a one-footed dance and spikes the ball.
It was horrible dancing. He would not make it to the dressing room on Dancing with the Stars.
I would probably describe the Ickey Shuffle as a cross between the Hokey Pokey, the Macarena, and the Humpty Dance. And I don't know where he came up with it. I don't know what he was drinking the day he came up with it, but it was a sensation throughout the 1988 season.
Ickey, get it at his zone.
In 1988, the hapless Bengals caught fire.
And a handoff goes to Ickey, running wide to the right, touchdown!
As a rookie, our number 9 selection led the team in rushing yards and touchdowns, then helped Cincinnati reach Super Bowl 23.
Handoff to Ickey, right side, touchdown! The Bengals have won the AFC Championship.
We had been so used to the Bengals not being good, all of a sudden they were good, and Ickey brought some fun to it.
He thrusted our offense and our football team onto the national stage.
Big hole, 45 to midfield.
And I think for a team like Cincinnati, who's in the Midwest, I think he gave us a little bit of Hollywood on our offense. I wish we could have got that performance in the Super Bowl from you. It would have helped finish the deal with you.
Who's ahead of Ickey Woods? I mean, that's crazy to me. Ickey Woods, that's the greatest end zone dance of all time.
Ickey Woods was just a little too soft for me. I just thought that was cheesy.
If you were to try to grade him in terms of aesthetics, it shouldn't even be on the list. But if you were to grade him on marketability, it should be much higher than number 9.
I'll never forget opening up newspapers and magazines and literally seeing diagrams of how to dance the Ickey Shuffle so everybody could go. And I can't dance, but even I could do the Ickey Shuffle.
Everybody did it. You did it. I did it. Weren't proud of it.
Just go to a supermarket and pick out a bunch of random suburbanites, and they would be able to dance better than Ickey.
What rights do you have to celebrate? I don't care how good they were then. At the end of the day, he's still a Cincinnati Bengal.
Following their loss in the Super Bowl, the Bengals returned to mediocrity. And when our number 9 was injured, he and his dance faded from the scene.
Ickey Shuffle is like a one-hit wonder from the 80s.
That one's got to go in the history books just for that, because you got to put your stamp somehow, and that's how he did it with the Ickey Shuffle. I'd bump it into the top half of the top 10. I guess we got to see what comes up next.
The number 8 end zone celebration of all time, the Dirty Bird.
Love the Dirty Bird. Who doesn't love the Dirty Bird? Come on.
Didn't like it, shouldn't be on this list. It looked like some budget ripoff of the electric slide. You know, something that my grandfather would do at a bar mitzvah. I mean, and birds don't do this.
It was one of the best dances ever for a team that, well, let's face it, wasn't very good for a very long time.
Richard, what are you doing? Welcome to the Dirty South, baby!
Like the 1988 Bengals, the 98 Falcons took flight for one magical year.
The bird is the word.
They soared to the Super Bowl on the wings of the Dirty Bird, a celebration that made our list when it brought a team and a town together.
It caught the whole Falcon fan base. And that was the thing about the Ickey Shuffle. For us in Cincinnati, everybody was doing the Ickey Shuffle. And when you have the Dirty Bird, which is a part of your team's namesake, I think it's fantastic.
I thought it was very creative, thinking outside the box. I liked it.
It's a new breed of bird, baby!
The Dirty Bird was crucial for the Falcons because this was a team that once Deion Sanders left, they had very little flair and almost no image.
Show what Dirty Bird's all about. Here we go.
The Dirty Bird helped put the Falcons franchise on the map just before that franchise was ready to completely fall off the map.
Dirty Birds are for real. You see, we dancing, we playing hard.
Jamal Anderson has his Dirty Bird working, and Ray Buchanan has a nice, smooth Dirty Bird, and it's like so many different versions of it. All you have to make sure you do is that you act like a bird and you get some type of flap on. If you get a flap on, you're doing some form of the bird.
You know, my version was going to be the dirty old man, but...
Hey, wait a minute, Ray! Give me a Dirty Bird! Give up!
While our number 8 end zone celebration was a hit for the Falcons,
whatever,
it didn't get much love.
Ridiculous.
Outside of Atlanta.
That's choreographed stage junk.
Atlanta always has the stupidest celebrations. They have the chop and then the freaking Dirty Bird. It's lame.
Seemed kind of juvenile. Boy, the more and more I get into this segment, the more and more I realize I don't like elaborate end zone celebrations.
Touchdown, and he mocks the crowd with a Dirty Bird dance of his own.
Despite their critics, our number 8 Dirty Birds upset the highly favored Vikings in the NFC Championship.
Touchdown, Falcons, and here is the Dirty Bird dance making its debut in the upper Midwest.
The best Dirty Bird dance was the one after the 98 championship game. To see Dan Reeves, the oldest, whitest, most uncoordinated, least likely guy to dance ever, but for him to smile and do the dance, I think that was a pretty special day for everybody in Atlanta.
People want to get down. The number 7 end zone celebration of all time, Steve Smith.
Steve Smith of the Panthers was very creative with his touchdown celebrations.
Yeah, he's doing a little Buccaneer pirate routine in the end zone.
I won't deny Steve Smith's had some good ones. He's great at it.
With his small stature and big talent, Steve Smith and his end zone celebrations became the face of the Carolina Panthers.
If you see their face again, that means I scored often.
Steve doing his little Hawaii all-pro dance there at the end.
Steve Smith is awesome. I love Steve Smith. I'll take that guy anytime. I think he's fun.
Steve Smith has always been one of my favorites.
Steve Smith.
Carolinas.
I don't even remember. That speaks for itself.
Steve Smith had a dance?
Now, what are his?
Does anybody know what Steve Smith's dance was?
No, I can't.
I cannot remember a dance by Steve Smith. Steve, you didn't give us a memorable dance, my friend.
To me, it should be a lot higher. I mean, he had moves.
Most people have a Steve Smith celebration that brings a smile to their face.
The baby with the diaper.
And Steve Smith just changed the diaper on the football in the end zone.
If you've ever wiped a baby's bottom, it is the one thing you would not want to do ever again. It's a chore, it's horrible, it stinks.
I gotta put this towel away. Stinky diaper.
One of the gutsiest celebrations I've ever seen is Steve Smith jumping into the Soldier Field goalpost.
He gets to the pole and he goes, woo, and slides down. It was awesome. It was the best one ever.
Bear hugs. The goalpost or something.
I think it was sliding down the fire pole.
Yeah.
I think the best one, by far, and why he should be on this list, though, is the rowboat.
He's rowing the boat down there. He sat down and he acted like he rowed the boat.
You had to know a little bit of what was going on in the NFL at that time.
The Vikings had just had the Love Boat scandal, and Steve Smith scores a touchdown against Minnesota.
Smith is there, caught. 15 to the 10, scrambles toward the end zone.
He got in the end zone and started doing his rowing routine, which, of course, pissed off Vikings fans.
The boat rowing could have something to do with the Vikings party on two boats on Lake Minnetonka.
The rowboat one, to me, is a top 5 celebration.
I feel like Steve Smith sort of set the ground for Chad Johnson to come later.
Steve Smith was a genius at the end zone celebration.
Steve was thinking outside the box. Who's going to think about doing canoeing or sword fight when you do an end zone celebration?
It's like one guy is just taking over this 100-yard piece of land out here, and he's just making his own little personal playground out of it.
Steve Smith's great. I mean, he's gotten good at it. It's not the Ickey Shuffle, the Dirty Bird.
Here is the Dirty Bird dance.
This is thought. You can see the guy trying to put some things together.
For creativity, I think he should be higher.
Number 6 end zone celebration of all time, Billy White Shoes Johnson.
Anybody who doesn't like the end zone celebration, I say to them, I said, what's wrong with Billy White Shoes Johnson? What is wrong with a man standing in an end zone and knocking his knees together repeatedly?
If you're going to give me end zone celebrations, White Shoes Johnson was the best. I mean, that's pretty good what he could do with with the legs like that,
There are certain guys that did it way better than others. I thought he was maybe the best of all time. Was there anything better than watching that guy bust off his thing where he just started doing his he had it all going? That was like the greatest thing ever.
He was the original. He started it.
Before White Shoes revolutionized the end zone celebration in the mid-'70s, the scene was dull and boring.
He was the first guy who made celebrations fun in the end zone.
He could fit into today's modern-day celebration. You know he would come up with something amazing. I mean, he was Chad Johnson before Chad Johnson.
What y'all talking about? Y'all talking about me?
Growing up at that time, you learned how to do the whole Billy White Shoes Johnson thing. He is the George Halas of end zone celebrations.
He put celebrations on the map.
He was an exciting football player.
His quick score potential kept defenses wobbling from his rubber legs routine.
The theory was if he run it back on you, he was going to do the funky chicken and dance in the end zone. Your goal as a football team was not for him to dance.
His on-field performances are equaled only by his end zone curtain calls.
It's just a matter of letting you know I'm here, and I'm going to do it every time I get in here. So no matter what you do to try and prevent it, this is what you can expect it as an end result of me scoring.
Hell of a job, little man.
There was a play, 49ers Falcons at Fulton County Stadium. The Hail Mary end of the game. It was one of these balls that seemed like it was tipped by everybody on the field and fell right into the arms of Billy White Shoes Johnson.
And it is pulled out by Billy Johnson. Johnson inside the 10, 5. He's in. Touchdown!
And he got up and did the dance. And as a 49er fan, it really bugged me. But it was ultimately entertaining, and it won the game, and so it was the ultimate show of satisfaction.
Touchdown, Atlanta! The Falcons have won it!
Being the originator of the end zone celebration, we thought we'd get White Shoes' thoughts on our list so far.
I think the spike is good. It doesn't take long. It really accentuates what the guy has done. I guess Ickey was showing that he had quick feet and good feet. It was okay. It wasn't no white shoes, but it was all right. When a coach like Dan Reeves does the dirty bird, you know people love that.
While some think White Shoes is the best, his place on our list is still up for debate.
Number 6, Billy White Shoes Johnson. Come on, that should be number 1.
When I look at my touchdown celebrations, I want Billy White Shoes Johnson.
I don't even remember what he did.
For groundbreaking status, he might be number 1.
I don't even remember what he did. What did he do?
Billy White Shoes Johnson was one of the original end zone choreographers, and to my mind, still the best.
I guess I missed the revolution.
To me, that should be much higher up this list.
The number 5 end zone celebration of all time, the Fun Bunch.
The Fun Bunch was really good.
Hated the Fun Bunch. I don't know that I could possibly begin to describe how much I hate the Fun Bunch.
Choreographed, predetermined, preordained, stupid.
Here comes the Fun Bunch in the end zone.
I think at the time there was individual end zone celebrations. Billy White Shoes Johnson was doing his thing. Drew Pearson was doing his thing. But there was never really a team end zone celebration.
Look at this. They're swinging their arms. Oh, a volleyball high five.
I think that is something that sets the Fun Bunch apart from everybody else.
That should not be number 5. A bunch of guys jumping in a circle and doing that was lame.
The 1980s Redskins had the Hogs. And they had the Smurfs.
Hey, Smurf! Virgil! You know, it's amazing. Virgil's the smallest guy on the ball club. He's the only guy sitting down watching the game.
But it's the Fun Bunch that had a lasting legacy on the NFL.
We were the ones that sort of, I guess you could say, ruined it for everybody else because we didn't have 2 guys celebrating. We had 7.
When the league started penalizing excessive celebration based on the Fun Bunch, it's understandable that we would suddenly call the NFL the No Fun League because you're banning something with the title fun in it.
What happened to the more the merrier? Bring everybody to the party? You can't have a party with one guy. That's not a party, that's just one guy. Absolutely freaking hated the Fun Bunch.
I mean, just including the name, the Fun Bunch. Oh, the Fun Bunch is here. It just was so...
Yeah. Great celebration, but completely overrated. Way too high on this list. It wasn't even choreographed well enough to get everybody to actually connect on the high five. Watch this again. There's like 2 guys out of 7 that actually connect on the high five. You actually need flesh-to-flesh contact within the Fun Bunch for the majority of the hands for this to be this high on the list.
The one I remember is when they did it at Texas Stadium.
It was sundown in Texas Stadium, and there was room for only one team at the top of the NFC East.
And somebody from the Cowboys went to break it up.
Downs and Thurman tried to break up our celebration. We continued to jump. I guess we just jumped over them.
That kind of took that rivalry to a whole new step where they said, hey, you're not going to do that in our house.
The Redskins had no intentions of letting anyone stand in the way of their Fun Bunch.
The Fun Bunch is an iconic part of the heyday Redskins.
Growing up a Redskin fan, I can tell you this. There was nobody that at some point during that era didn't do that once or twice. It was just good fun.
It was fun. It was cool. It should be in the top 2 or 3.
Here comes the Fun Bunch in the end zone.
Number 4 end zone celebration of all time, Chad Ochocinco.
If you're just adding up creativity and different end zone celebrations, I don't think anyone beats Chad Johnson.
You were really good there for a while, and then all of a sudden you just jumped the gun. It was almost like he made himself jump the shark.
I like when Ochocinco scores touchdowns because you know he's got something planned.
If I get in the end zone, make sure you keep the camera on me.
The camera always seems to find Chad Ochocinco, something that has endeared some and enraged others.
When he threw that Hall of Fame jacket on, I thought that was one of the best celebrations I've ever seen.
I thought it was classless and tasteless that Chad Johnson would put on a Hall of Fame yellow jacket while he was still playing.
The 05 season, I mean, not only was that a playoff season for the Bengals.
And it's playoff time. Houday, baby. How about that?
But it was a playoff season and what he did in terms of end zone celebrations.
I got a great celebration for you guys. Again, just wait and see the next one.
Putting the football is pretty classic.
Looks like he's got a putt in front of him. And
sinks it.
I particularly like when he revived the football in the end zone.
Chad Johnson trying to pump air into the ball.
One of Johnson's best celebrations is the proposal to the cheerleader.
Chad Johnson got on a knee like he was proposing to Daphne. I don't know if Daphne accepted or not.
In a season full of over-the-top celebrations, one stood out above the rest.
The river dance alone should be the top end zone celebration of all time.
Just looking at it, it's like you can hear Irish fiddles playing in the background.
I'm a sucker for the river dance. I thought he did it pretty well. It showed culture, it showed class, it showed that maybe he could even join the ballet.
I don't know what kind of celebration we have going on here, but this is a real choreographed deal with Chad.
I think if it wasn't for the river dance, Chad might not have gotten on Dancing with the Stars.
While 2005's celebrations put Chad on the map, it's one that he didn't do that some will remember.
That was the year in Detroit where the Bengals came to town, and he caught a touchdown pass.
Touchdown, Chad Johnson!
And everybody was expecting Ochocinco to do something really big.
What's the celebration?
He ended up just going off the field with no celebration.
Hands the ball to the official, and the fans boo.
I remember being so disappointed as a football fan.
I guarantee you every Sunday, people would tune in just to see if Chad Johnson scored and what is he going to do this week.
I'm going to give you your money's worth before I leave today.
Nobody has shown more creativity in celebrations in the history of the National Football League than Ochocinco.
Ref, you want to see what I'm going to do. That's when you know you're good.
Chad Johnson's end zone celebrations have kind of the career arc of Madonna. At the beginning, pioneer, looked like a surefire Hall of Famer for end zone celebrations. And now, I think we're on the back nine for his end zone celebrations.
Chad, please. Chad, please.
The number 3 end zone celebration of all time, the Lambeau Leap.
I think the Lambeau Leap should be number 1 on the list.
You talk about breaking down the walls between fans and player. I mean, that's it.
Sharing that moment with the fans, that's as cool as it gets.
How can you deny that it's arguably the best celebration in all of sports?
Jennings out there over the shoulder catch. Touchdown!
It deserves a number 1 rating because it's a selfless celebration. It's one that draws in the fans in that college atmosphere that is Lambeau Field.
Rodgers with protection drills the middle of the end zone. Wow. You go and you see the guy jump into the crowd and you say Lambeau Leap. You don't say, like, I don't know, Jacksonville Jump, right? I mean, it's the Lambeau Leap. Forget about that. No other team can do that.
This ain't no disco!
I like Lambeau Leap right up at number 1.
It's just so Packers. It's just so Green Bay.
That's a very Midwestern feeling thing. Like they all raise barns together, right? Don't they do that in the Midwest? So they celebrate together, too.
That's the way we play football in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
While the Packers helped start the NFL in 1921, the Lambeau Leap didn't appear for another 72 years.
Leroy Butler was the one who actually created the Lambeau Leap.
Knocked down at the 38-yard line. Do the Packers have the ball? Apparently they do.
It's ironic because that was a game Green Bay clinches a playoff berth for the first time since '72.
It is a touchdown for Leroy Butler.
It's almost like the Lambeau Leap is synonymous with the rebirth of the Packer organization.
I think it's the best end zone celebration ever. I mean, I recall one time, I think a fan dropped a drizzle of beer in my mouth when I jumped into the stands.
For the past 2 decades, many Packers have attempted our number 3 end zone celebration with different degrees of success.
You see my Lambeau Leap, how bad it was?
Robert Brooks made it the household name because he would elevate so effortlessly after a touchdown. The really good ones would jump, use one hand and pivot, and end up sitting on the top of the stands.
He rolls to the right, looking for a touchdown to William Henderson.
My first Lambeau Leap, I remember scoring, and I made a mad dash for the stands. Adrenaline lifted me up and set me on top of the wall. I did the flashy one. There was bad ones. Gabe Wilkins, freakish play. He hurdled a guy to get down the side, but by the time he got to the end zone, he was gassed. and he still tried to go for it. That's real stinky. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Jason Hunter, 54 yards.
Whether it was defensive rumblers or star quarterbacks, just about every Packer who scored tried our number 3 celebration.
Here we go, the Lambeau Leap by Brett.
Brett Favre only made 1 attempt in his 16 seasons with the team.
Rodgers takes quarterback sneak to the end zone. Touchdown!
But when Aaron Rodgers took over the reins from number 4, he made our number 3 celebration his number 1 priority.
A South End Zone celebration.
If you score and you're wearing the G on your helmet and you jump up into the stands, I think that's a pretty cool part of the NFL.
Most of these things are celebrations of ego, of a player thumping their own chest and being excited for themselves. The Lambeau Leap is about a home team celebrating a touchdown in front of the home fans. That's why, to me, it's one of the great ones out there.
The number 2 end zone celebration of all time, T.O.
When it comes to the Hollywood aspect, the pizzazz of the end zone celebrations, T.O. has no peer.
It's me!
The man is not a winner. He is just an attention whore. He is a disgusting example of pro football at its very worst.
I like it when they talk dirty to me.
Any way you slice it, that guy's a Hall of Famer.
I'm in a league of my own. They ain't ready for me.
It's all orchestrated and all about T.O. Joyless exercise in self-promotion.
They still know to hate me.
It's showtime.
All I want to know if you got your popcorn ready.
It's like being in the movies.
Do you got your popcorn ready?
You get your popcorn, right before you go in. So I was just asking, like, hey, Stu, you got your popcorn ready? Because it's going to be a show today.
In a career that spanned a number of different teams, our number 2 selection put on a show that both entertained and infuriated.
Oh, I think he's a lunatic. I would prefer he didn't do any of that stuff because I think there are situations where it winds up hurting you.
I can't stand myself.
T.O. looks for acceptance. The insecurity of T.O., people accept him more when he goes through all that nonsense in the end zone.
Look, you got to find ways to pump yourself up. You got to find ways to dangle a carrot to keep yourself going in this game.
This is what made T.O. a great player. He thought long and hard about what he would do in an end zone celebration, which meant he thought long and hard about being in the end zone.
Got to give T.O. his props. Wildly annoying, totally petulant, but makes great end zone celebrations.
And now, someone you either love to hate or hate to love. I know you don't want me to shine, but I'm going to shine anyway, because I love me. Believe it.
Our number 2 end zone celebrator generated more debate than anyone else on our list. So here's his top 4 moments that drew both cheers and jeers.
Oh my goodness. He did not just take the pom-poms.
Grabbing the pom-poms and cheerleading. Who doesn't laugh when you see that? Plus, Terrell might have been exploring some parts of his personality we didn't know.
He completes it to Terrell Owens. Breaks a tackle at the 5.
The Ray Lewis imitation was the best.
Terrell Owens now doing the Ray Lewis dance. He reaches down, grabs some turf. He's doing Ray Lewis's dance in his face.
I thought it was one of the more disrespectful things I've ever seen.
And I also thought it was very brave.
When you mock arguably the toughest guy in the NFL, you got some stones.
Terrell Owens, leaping catch, right corner, fade pattern, touchdown.
Standing on the star, I think everybody remembers that scene.
He's going to the star. He's going to the star.
You can't show your opponent up. You're just asking to get blistered, and blistered he did.
And George King levels it.
Getting clocked at midfield, that was the best part of that celebration to me. I mean, it was. I had watched that 1,000 times.
And when you literally have to go 50 yards out of your way to celebrate a touchdown, you got to call a shrink or a good therapist and sit down and work some of this stuff out.
Garcia going deep. Owens on this side. Just makes the catch. Touchdown.
Owens did the Sharpie celebration with such swagger.
What is that, a pin?
He had a pen in his sock, and he pulled it out and autographed the ball.
I was like, this is in the great tradition of American showmen like P.T. Barnum.
That's a first. Who would even think of that?
I said, this is something Babe Ruth would have done. The grand show, the grand gesture.
Sharpie, pom-poms, popcorn, I mean, T.O. just keeps spinning the hits, man.
You know, at the end of the day, T.O. had a great career. And the celebrations were part of a great career.
And now, the #1 end zone celebration of all time, Barry Sanders.
It's a crock that Barry Sanders is #1 on this list.
Oh, that's so lame. That's #1? That is so lame.
Although I can appreciate celebrations, here's a guy who was class all the way, and he expected to score on you. That's why he wasn't celebrating. I think that is an even more attractive option than a guy trying to come up with some elaborate plan.
That's the way it should be, in my opinion. That's football. That's what our grandfathers and fathers taught us growing up as a kid.
Touchdown, Barry Sanders. What a sight.
I mean, they hand the ball to the referee thing. What is this, Pop Warner? That's the most boring thing in history. Here, ref, take the ball. You scored a touchdown. Celebrate it. You got to do better than just handing it to the ref. After as electrifying as you are on the field, come on.
You know you're going to do it again when you hand the ball to the official and you just run back to the sideline, because that's what it communicated, just pure confidence that he'd be there again.
Holy mackerel, he's done it again.
Barry's lack of an attention-grabbing touchdown celebration mirrored his stoic personality.
That signified what Barry Sanders was all about. That he wasn't a showboat.
He never wanted to attract the attention of the cameras, the media.
It was just his way, once again, of not bringing attention to himself. His attention that he brought to himself happened when he had the football in his hands.
His end zone celebration started when he touched the rock when the quarterback gave it to him. All that dancing that he did, he didn't have enough energy to dance when he got in the end zone.
Barry just cut inside, cut outside, cut inside, and then used his speed to outrun a man to the end zone.
Barry to the 15, to the 10, 5, touchdown! What an incredible run by the best back in the National Football League.
What Barry's professionalism proved is that it's more about getting to the end zone than what you do when you get there.
The 10, 5, touchdown! Barry to the 45, and bumps to the 40, breaks it, 35, 30, he's gone! Unbelievable! Touchdown, Lions, Barry Sanders! Wow.
He's the greatest running back in the National Football League today, and is one of the greatest I've seen in a long, long time.
After going from sideline to sideline and disappearing, one seems to get exhausted. And so I don't have the energy to dance, and plus I don't have that kind of rhythm.
Barry Sanders with a move that Mikhail Baryshnikov couldn't make.
It's so unusual to see players do like Barry Sanders, toss the ball to the ref.
I got to figure out my dance. I got to show the world when I get in the end zone.
I tend to like the guys who act like they've been there before.
Earl Campbell did that. A lot of the great running backs do it.
Guys like Franco Harris, here's the ball. You know, guys like Larry Zonka, here's the ball.
Touchdown, Larry Zonka!
It's become the rarest thing in sports, and particularly in the NFL. The idea that you show a little bit of class on the field, that you act like you've been there before. There's something to be said for that.
Larry turns as soon as he catches it and gives him the ball.
We've seen all the, Joe Horn on his cell phone and Ochocinco and what he's done, and the fun bunch with the Redskins when those guys would jump up and do their thing in the end zone. But give me the guy that goes in the end zone and just turns around and say, yeah, I've been here before. Give me that guy.
That's all you could come up with? Hand it to the ref?
To me, that's not a touchdown celebration. That shouldn't even be on the list.
You have been there before, but that doesn't mean you have to be boring. You've been there so many times that you can come up with something better than that.
Shame on you for catering to every 70-year-old out there who's like, now that's the way it's done. Act like you've been there before, sonny.
Despite some naysayers, most agree that Barry Sanders is the right choice at #1.
Thank goodness you guys put Barry at the top of this list. I'm glad Barry stuck it to the rest of the divas of the NFL. Yeah, I've been here before. I've scored like 3,000 of these. Here's your football.
Only Barry Sanders.
You got this one right. No question.
Barry
Barry Sanders, just another day. Here, you need this? Go ahead, kick the extra point. I'm heading back to the sideline.
When you look at Barry Sanders do the amazing thing, sometimes you just got to say, wow.
Brilliant. What a sight.
That is absolutely the best celebration, bar none.
I can't question that. That's number one for sure.